All right, today I'm covering 3 of the most common cold call tips I see being peddled by sales gurus recently across all industries. I want to cover what's true about their advice, what's not true, so that you're actually using your time and efforts wisely. So today I'm covering the good old sage advice of quality over quantity, asking open-ended, qualifying questions that get the prospect talking, and of course my favorite, permission-based openers. So let's get into it. All right, the first cold call tip really catching fire and I see trending recently more often than usual is the advice of quality over quantity, that you want to be focused on quality, value-based messaging over the quantity of messages that you're sending out. I see this being peddled all over LinkedIn and YouTube, and my question is this really groundbreaking? Have you ever heard someone take the other side of that take and say, nope, it's not about quality at all, it's all about quantity, it's all about firing out emails, it's all about ripping dials, don't even focus on value, just make interactions, it's all numbers, pump them out, let's go. Never heard someone say that. I've always heard the advice quality over quantity in some capacity, and now the advice is it's 2024, budgets are tight, buyers are being more scrutinizing, so you really need to focus on value-based messaging. But why is it so hard to admit that quality and quantity are important? If you're an SDR and anyone's telling you that quantity is not important, does not have your best interests in mind. You need to be focused on creating quality, value-based messaging that's scalable and relevant to as many personas as possible so that you can get it out to as many people as possible and give yourself more shots on net. A lot of this advice is coming from sales VPs who I say are in their ivory towers. And I have respect for these people. I think they are actually trying to give good advice, but I think a lot of them forget what it's like being an SDR. A lot of them are already where they want to be in their careers and where you want to get to. And I hear them giving advice like 5 value-based messages a day is better than 50 or 100 emails or calls where you just blast them out. And you want to make sure you're taking advice from people whose metrics and KPIs are aligned with yours, or they have yours in mind when they're giving advice. Most VPs are more incentivized not to focus on quantity. They only want to be taking quality meetings. Their time is valuable. They don't want to waste time with meetings that aren't going to go anywhere. But generally as an SDR, your KPIs and metrics are more focused around the amount of meetings you set, the amount of those meetings that convert to opportunities, and the amount of pipeline you get. And guess what? Quantity is extremely important when it comes to setting meetings. If you're sending more targeted messaging to more target personas, you're going to book more meetings. More meetings leads to more opportunities leads to more pipeline. So unless these VPs giving this advice about less is more are actually incentivizing that, they're incentivizing value-based messaging, maybe through putting more of an emphasis on conversion rate, how many meetings you convert, you need to be focused on you and your KPIs. That's their job to align your KPIs with their strategic objectives. Because in the end, you're here to build a career. It's your bonus, your commission on the line, it's your promotion on the line. If you focus on value-based messaging and only sending out a few a day and it doesn't get you anywhere, they don't give you a pat on the back, they don't give you an extra bonus for that. In the end, it's your KPIs and their metrics that they set that you should be focused on fulfilling. An example I talk about is expected value. So let's use that example of 5, less is more, 5 messages a day that are highly targeted, highly value-based is better than 100 emails or calls where you just blast them out. So let's say you make 5 cold calls or emails that are extremely value-based, you put an hour or 2 of research into them before you actually made the interaction, and on average, you have a 60% conversion rate, so 3 of those turn to meetings. So you're expected to get 3 meetings a day doing that. Or you could start 100 sequences where maybe only 10% end up converting through that sequence. That's still 10 meetings. That's over 3 times the amount of meetings. And guess what? You're going to get more opportunities and more pipeline on average when you're setting more meetings. So the goal is to move as fast as possible at as high of a quality as possible. Don't just focus on quality over quantity. I think it's misleading. All right, cold call tip number 2 I hear peddled a lot, that you want to be asking open-ended, qualifying questions that get the prospect talking and that you want to be doing most of the listening. So the truth to this is more a matter of timing when you start asking these open-ended questions. A lot of reps and SDRs are trained to lead off with this, that when you ask these open-ended qualifying questions, this is what builds trust and rapport. You haven't earned their trust yet. When SDRs do this, this is what most commonly leads to those defensive tones where the prospect's pushing you off the phone before you even got a chance to tell them who you are, why you're calling, what you want. Because they're like, what are we doing here? Who are you? I'm busy. This isn't going anywhere. What do you want from me? When this works is when you do deliver. Here's who I am, here's why I'm calling, the value, and here's what I want from you, which is typically time on their calendar. Now you've satisfied their base requirements and they know what this call is about, and you've hopefully built some value in that value statement so that they know you actually understand them, their role, their company, and that you've helped other similar people in the past. So I believe you want to be the one taking control, doing most of the talking out of the gate, make it clear what you want, and only then, after you've built that trust and given off value, can you start asking some of these open-ended questions. Maybe they throw an objection your way, and that's when you can start asking some of these open-ended questions where you also showcase in those questions why you're asking. This is really what builds trust and what helps make cold calling feel easier, because now you know when they answer, you know how every call is going to go. You're going to tell them who you are, why you're calling, what you want. You don't have to hope that they respond positively to your qualifying questions or they sound interested. You are the one that takes control, delivers value, and earns the right to start asking open-ended qualifying questions. All right, and tip number 3, the good old permission-based opener. And I want to preface this section by saying if you use permission-based openers and you feel comfortable and confident using them and they're actually working for you, all the power to you. I'm not telling you to change. In the end, feeling comfortable and confident is what's most important, whether it's a permission-based opener or any other style of opener. But this is how reps are most commonly trained and are told what works the best, when in reality, I've coached hundreds of SDRs, and I'd say 80 to 90% of them, including myself when I was new, hated using permission-based openers. They feel gimmicky, they don't feel genuine, and it ultimately hurt my cold call confidence. It made it harder for me to pick up the phone, which made me make less interactions. There's so many downstream consequences if you don't feel comfortable, even something small like not feeling comfortable on an opening. So there's lots of different variations. They can sound as simple as, hey, do you have 30 seconds to chat right now? Or, hey, do you have 30 seconds for me to tell you why I'm calling? And then you can decide whether you want to continue the conversation. Some of them aren't even permission-based, but they sort of revolve around playing psychological games. One common one I hear taught is, hey, I'm a little lost here. Could you help point me in the right direction or help me out? Because supposedly people like to help out and they don't want to leave you hanging and they feel bad for you. And there's always a psychological trick that sounds smart and people are like, yes, that's what I should be using. When in reality, I think you're overcomplicating it most times. Most people don't feel comfortable doing that stuff. It's only people who have years of experience and really have nailed their tone that can make that sort of stuff work. And I do believe it does work for some people. But if you're someone who doesn't feel comfortable using them, I think it's because under the hood, what it's signaling is that you're not confident and that you have to play tricks and games in order to get their attention. It's coming from the wrong base under the hood. What I can tell you is that I'm almost 6 years into a software sales career. I've promoted 4 times, and to this day, my cold call opener is to just say, how are you? I promise you it is possible. You don't need permission-based openers if they don't feel comfortable. You can just say, how are you, with a downward inflection. I'll link to a video where I do an example of that. And the reason I don't like all these permission-based openers and psychological games primarily is because it opens the door for variance. When you give that permission-based opener, you're giving them an out. You're making it easy for them to say, no, I'm running into a meeting, what's this about? Or can you give me a call back? It gives them a really easy out, and there's so many different directions it can go when you lead off asking a question or playing some sort of game like that, and that's what makes it hard to pick up the phone. That's why I like to give an assumptive formality where I try and just get a formality back from them, and then I go right into why I'm calling, where I tell them who I am, why I'm calling, and what I want. So hope this opened your eyes to some of the tips being pushed your way. In the end, what's most important is that you feel comfortable. I just want to make a point that just because you see the same advice being peddled over and over again, if something doesn't feel right to you, there's always a way of doing it differently. And that's what I try and showcase on this channel, just how I have done this and how I've been doing this for 6 years, starting in that SDR role. So if this helped, hit the like button, and I'll see you on the next one.